Okay, so who doesn't love a good origin story, right? How did things come to be? And for us here at Empower Your Platform, it's kind of a varied, interesting, creative path that took us to where we are today. It's something I never anticipated I would be doing. So it all began, let's go back to the beginning. I am a young musician. I'm a college student. I love playing music. I was studying pre-med in Minneapolis, St. Paul. But I love playing guitar, hanging out with other people that loved playing in a band. Well, one thing leads to another, and pretty soon I'm in California, and I am meeting a man named Dennis Agajanian. After playing with a band in San Diego for a while, I met Dennis, and Dennis said, "Man, I like your style. Why don't you try and come and play a couple gigs with me up in Los Angeles?" So I did that. And Dennis is a big country bluegrass guy. I mean, just bigger than life, man. He's an incredible performer. He's a great friend, a lifelong friend of mine. So I did that for about 4 years with him. I traveled as a bass player, ended up being a road manager as well as a bass player, handling a lot of the front of house sound, the setup, the prep, the timing, at the festivals and the stages, the concerts. It was mainly Christian events, Christian-based events. And so we were doing things with Billy Graham. We were doing things with different churches and organizations, as well as, festivals, music festivals. It was crazy. Great times. I learned so much being a young person who really, I was living on fumes, You don't make a ton of money when you're with in the band as a musician, but I was doing fine. But I started writing songs because the music that we were doing, it would inspire me. I'd meet other musicians like Phil Keaggy. I would meet other musicians that inspired me to really think, man, I could write some music. I want to write music like these people. It's like they're expressing something from inside and they're using music to do it. And I admired that. I loved it. I loved being a part of it. So after being on hundreds of stages around the world, literally, we flew around the world. We traveled around the U.S., almost every state. And I'm just experiencing things from a support person behind the main event, but I'm watching what's happening. I start writing songs, and pretty soon I start, playing my songs, sharing my songs with Dennis and other people. And people started listening. And then I started getting a couple songs published by other artists. And then one thing leads to another. I'm meeting with an attorney to talk about copyrights. And I'm thinking, wow, I was supposed to be pre-med. So this is my life then for a while. So then I went on to do a full album solo. My friend Dennis said, you need to be out this doing yourself. So I really endeavored to, be an artist, be a singer-songwriter, be an artist who traveled, wrote music, produced it. And virtually, really, I had a ministry. I had a ministry to people with songs that spoke of my faith. They were sharing my heart with people. Music, I realized, moves people. And lyrics tied with music really moves people. It tells stories of people. It tells stories about life that people can relate with. So, fast forward. I'm on my 7th album. I'm doing great as an indie. I've been offered a record deal, but I realized that wasn't the answer. So I chose the indie route, and I was thriving. I had a band with me. A whole bunch of my friends would come and play. Some would switch in and out, but it was a fantastic experience. On stage after stage after stage, venue after venue, big festivals, open air festivals, big arenas. Sometimes it was at big churches. Sometimes it was at big convention centers. It would just be everywhere. Sometimes it was in small venues. We would actually play in prisons. We would actually go in and do concerts for the prisoners. They can't get out and can't attend a concert, so we'd go to them. Fantastic experience. I mean, talk about cutting your teeth with communication. So I'm watching all this happen. And by now I'm on thousands, literally thousands of stages. Having released album number 7, project number 7, everything came to a grinding halt. I had major family trials. Went through a divorce, had 2 little kids, And I pulled all the stops and I pulled back. And I thought, man, I got to make a living. I got to take care of my kids. I've got to be here for them. And all these changes going on family-wise. So I went to see a friend of mine, Dan Mortimer, and he had a production company in Spokane, Washington. And we met, and he said, well, I don't know what I can do for you. You know, I'm pretty much a commercial producer. Maybe I don't do jingles, but maybe I can, you know, put some feelers out there, see if there's some jingle work you can get. At that very moment, crazy story. At that very moment, the fax phone rings on his desk, back when faxes were a thing. The fax phone rings, in comes a fax, and it says, hey, Dano, I need a jingle for a Chevrolet dealership by next Friday. I have X amount of dollars. Any ideas? Bop, bop, bop. Question mark, question mark. My friend Dan rips it off, and he goes, isn't it amazing how God works sometimes? And he hands me the fax, and he says, there's your first job. Do you want it? Of course you do. I grabbed it, and I was like, oh my word. I just made several $1,000s in a week, and it was like an answer to prayer for me. Well, that began the immersion into the commercial world. I began to write music, write jingles. I would do jingles on spec and then go to an office of the CEO of the company and say, hey, I've got a jingle. It's an idea. You don't do jingles, but maybe you like it. I sold so many jingles that way. It was crazy. Leading up to then doing a few PBS documentaries where I was scoring the music. Fantastic experience with good friends, or I'd hire people to come in. We would score these documentaries. It's all about music now. It's all about feeling. You know, think about a movie. You know, when you go to a movie, the music is designed to channel your emotions a certain direction. The music, obviously. Well, then let's take another step forward. I'm helping Dan and others do some editing with commercials. And of course, we're directing voice talent. One day, a voice talent can't show for a session. There was some mix-up. And the client goes, hey, Joel, can you just step in there and just put a placeholder in there? I just have to have this approved by the client today, by the advertiser today. And I don't know what to do. Just put a placeholder until I can get the real artist in here. So I went into the booth. I performed the commercial. It was for a Toyota dealer. And about 5 days later, I get the word that I'm the new voice of Toyota. Well, then I'm thinking, that's cool. Little side income every month, you know, and it was fantastic. I think I did that for 11 or 12 years. Well, pretty soon I'm starting to do healthcare. Word gets around, and I'm doing regional healthcare. It starts with one hospital, it goes to a region. Pretty soon I'm doing Kaiser Permanente. I'm doing a whole bunch of different things for healthcare. It's very empathetic. It's very sensitive. It's not selling cars, but I'm realizing, check this out. This is where it all starts to come together. I'm realizing that at this stage in my life, having experienced music and what it does to people, how it connects people, how it makes them feel, and then lyrics of a story in music, delivered with music, all part of that feeling, that impact, that I'm guiding you, I'm impressing you, I am persuading you, I'm making you feel things. And that was the beginning of some major revelations for me. Fast forward a little more. Now I'm in Los Angeles, and I am taking every course I can take from some of the best in Hollywood, the best trainers, the best teachers in LA and Hollywood for voice acting. And I'm thinking, I've never heard this before in my life. No one will ever teach you in university any of this material. And it started to just transform the way I spoke, the way I delivered messages. Suddenly this happens. NHL, National Hockey League, 100th anniversary, and I become their guy. And I'm narrating hundreds of short videos of 100 years of hockey. And I grew up in northern Minnesota. I loved hockey. So it was so fun doing this from a piece of my childhood going, I'm the voice of NHL for this entire campaign. And that has continued on. I've done NHL stuff for a long time. Love working with that NHL network. It's gone on to NASCAR. It's gone on to Fox Sports. It's gone on to all kinds of things. And now I'm the voice of Ford, one of the main voices of Ford for the U.S., amongst a whole bunch of other clients. If you want to go to joelweldonvoices.com, there's a whole list of them. Check them out. But the bottom line is this. I started to realize that all of this experience had come together in a very unique way to allow me to understand how the human voice is received, how it's delivered, and how you and I can be the best communicators of any message we want to communicate by using amazing, simple, but very specific techniques. That is where Empower Your Platform came about. It's been several years now. I've taught voice acting classes both in Burbank and in Santa Monica, in Orange County, and that has been a blast. But I think the most fun I've had is being able to take voice acting techniques, emotional context, psychology of human voice and human communication, and applying it to everyone right where they are. You could be a pastor. You could be an attorney, giving your final argument. You could be a salesperson. You could be a counselor. You could be a teacher. All of these things involve communication of you using words delivered in a certain way, in a certain context that will trigger people emotionally to connect and remember your message. That's huge. That's where Empower Your Platform was born. And I love doing it. I've consulted with huge organizations now around the U.S., sometimes in very clandestine roles where there are NDAs signed amongst everyone. It's been really, really fun, and it goes on. But the bottom line is, Empower Your Platform, we will develop these short, powerful courses that will take these concepts and make them palatable, make them applicable for everyone who wants to learn how to communicate better. That includes you. With every conversation you could have tomorrow, all this stuff will apply to you. That's why I love this work. So EYP, all of us as IPers, right? We are going to become the best communicators possible. If you have any questions, reach out to us. But I want you to check out some of the short courses we have available because they're made very consumable, very applicable immediately for you. And you're going to understand them and go, wow, I've never heard this ever in my life. And it's transformational. We're so excited. So welcome to Empower Your Platform.